Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moments. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of upcoming episode of Soul Land 2 Part 207 based on novel. So let's start. Not soul engineers? Yaya made an accurate judgment immediately. Not only were these two not soul engineers, but they were even a very familiar type of soul master, evil soul masters. They were evil soul masters from the Holy Ghost Church. These two evil titled Dolor were unfamiliar to Yaya. However, his expression immediately turned serious. Evil soul masters found it very easy in the early stages of their cultivation. They were able to improve by leaps and bounds. However, it was very difficult for an evil soul master to become a titled Dolor. It was even harder for them compared to ordinary soul masters. As a result, evil soul masters that could become titled Dolor were undoubtedly elites among evil soul masters. These two had to be honorary elders of the Holy Ghost Church even if they weren't from the worship hall. The Holy Ghost Church had actually deployed two evil soul masters here. It seemed like they must have hatched some kind of plot. Yaya squinted and strengthened the release of his spiritual power. Right now, both he and Tang Wu were within his spiritual interference domain. The two evil soul masters couldn't tell their appearances. His immense spiritual power also kept the two evil soul masters busy, such that they couldn't be bothered with anything else for now. Both parties were at a stalemate, but the battlefield was thundering. Lights were also scattering everywhere. The soul formation at the top of the northern city walls was also being intensely bombed. Its linked defense was on the verge of collapsing. The Sun-Moon Empire had deployed a total of 150 soul engineers here. 100 of them were at the bottom of the city walls, while the other 50 were deployed at the top. Although the soul engineers at the top used their powerful linked defense to resist the attack of the Tang sect Soul Engineer Legion, they were also being drained much more quickly. If this were a normal situation where the enemies came from outside the city, the soul engineers in the city would be able to hang on. They could even combine their linked defenses at the top and bottom of the walls, generating an even stronger defense. However, things were extremely chaotic at the bottom right now. Bei and the other three were mercilessly killing soul engineers within the soul formation. How could anyone even be bothered by what was going on at the top? This was why Yaya and Tang Wu were not anxious at all. Whether it was Bei and the other three or Hikaitu who managed to achieve what they wanted, Yaya and Tang Wu stood to benefit. If they weren't anxious, they wouldn't easily reveal their own flaws. This was the simplest fighting strategy, but it was very effective. The two evil soul masters soon realized this, and they turned extremely grim. While Yaya was stunned by them, they were also equally astonished by the fact that so many powerful individuals had appeared here. In addition, there was even a Soul Engineer Legion. How strong was the Tang sect Soul Engineer Legion? In the sky, every figure shone with the light of 6 soul rings. The entire Soul Engineer Legion was made up of Soul Emperors. Perhaps the Tang sect Soul Engineer Legion might be less well-equipped than the outstanding Soul Engineer Legions of the Sun-Moon Empire. However, not a single Soul Engineer Legion, even in the Sun-Moon Empire, was as well-equipped with Soul Masters as the Tang sect Soul Engineer Legion. Not even the Sun-Moon Imperial Soul Engineer Legion was an exception. Given this, the Soul Engineers at the top of the city walls were about to be taken down under the all-out attack of the Tang sect Soul Engineer Legion. All of you are courting death. The titled Dolor on the left shouted before he lifted his right hand. His body immediately shone with 2 yellow, 2 purple and 5 black soul rings. A pitch-black flag also appeared within his grasp. This entire flag was black, even up to its flagpole. However, there subtly seemed to be countless purplish-black indignant souls flashing above this flag. Myriad Soul Banner. This evil soul master's nickname was Myriad Soul. He was the Myriad Soul Dolor, a rank 91 evil titled Dolor. The other evil soul master by his side also unleashed his martial soul. The Myriad Soul Dolor was a tool soul master while he was a beast soul master. His body immediately expanded, and his skin seemed as if it were going to tear apart. Thick greenish fog quickly spread from his body. Very soon, he was more than 20 meters tall, and his waistline grew to more than 20 meters. He was like a monster now. He was actually a living creature, an abomination, that existed in Huiyuhao's spectral demoplane too. Huiyuhao started to recite incantations. Tang Wu flashed, and came in front of him. He placed both his hands on her slim waist, maintaining their Haodong power. Tang Wu's eyes suddenly turned extremely bright. Sonorous dragon roars rang through the air. In front of her, a huge golden dragon head gradually surfaced. Following this, the dragon head opened its mouth wide, and balls of golden light shot towards the two evil soul masters. This was the second soul skill of the radiant dragon butterfly, Dragon God's Fury. It was important to remember that Huiyuhao and Tang Wu could unleash the abilities of a transcendent Dolor when they came together as one entity. This was Dragon God's Fury at the level of a transcendent Dolor. Every ball of light appeared very real. Wherever they passed, the air would actually weirdly collapse. It was as if the air was a wall, which was dented as the Dragon God's Fury shot past. It was indeed very weird. The Myriad Soul Dolor's figure flashed before he arrived in front them. His Myriad Soul banner moved along with the winds, and tragic screams echoed as sinister winds blew. The banner was about to engulf the balls of light unleashed by Dragon God's Fury. Something weird happened at this moment. The balls of light suddenly unfurled in midair, turning into small golden dragons. These dragons bared their teeth as they clawed towards the banner. The avenging spirits that were released from the Myriad Soul banner were instantly torn apart as they faced the golden dragons, which were filled with an aura of light. Suddenly, the sky turned extremely bright, and the sinister aura that was previously in the air was swept away under the effect of Dragon God's Fury. The Myriad Soul Dolor's expression changed immediately. These avenging spirits were the source of his strength. He shouted, and the third soul ring of his Myriad Soul banner shone brightly. His Myriad Soul banner enlarged 10 times over, and reached towards all the small golden dragons. The abomination Dolor had already taken a big step by now, and was charging towards Huiyuhao and Tang Wu. The enlarged Myriad Soul banner was actually very resilient. When it engulfed all the small golden dragons, it seemed as if countless souls had devoured them. Instantly, it really felt as if Dragon God's Fury had been completely suppressed. A cold look flashed across Tang Wu's face. The golden dragon head in front of her shone brightly all of a sudden. Following this, tremendous booms rang from the Myriad Soul banner. The Myriad Soul Dolor shouted in fury and quickly staggered back. The aura released from his Myriad Soul banner seemed to weaken a little. Evidently, he had suffered greatly from Tang Wu's retaliation. Evil soul masters could indeed curb most martial souls. However, Tang Wu's top-grade Radiant Dragon Butterfly couldn't be curbed by any ordinary evil soul master. If not for the fact that Huiyuhao was reciting incantations right now, which affected the circulation of their Haodong power, Tang Wu would have been able to hurt the Myriad Soul Dolor with her earlier blow, given her abilities. At this moment, the abomination Dolor rushed forward. He opened his arms, and a huge patch of greenish fog swept towards Tang Wu and Huiyuhao. A dark greenish fluid also seeped out from his skin as his terrifying figure approached. A huge chain also appeared in the abomination Dolor's hand. On a closer look, one could discover that it was formed by linking skulls together. These skulls didn't belong to humans. Instead, they seemed to come from different living creatures. They were filled with intense vengeance and sinister auras. At the top of the chain, there was a hook made from an unknown bone structure. As the abomination Dolor swung his hand forward, his huge chain whipped towards Tang Wu's head. Compared to the abomination Dolor, Tang Wu was extremely small. However, she was still fearless in the face of such a powerful opponent. She lifted her arms in front of her body and clasped her palms above her head. Her dragon wings came together at this point, engulfing Huiyuhao within them. A giant blade of light appeared in midair as if it had just cut open the heavens. It was more than 10 meters long. As Tang Wu swept her hands down, the huge blade slashed down, echoing the furious roar of a dragon at the same time. Ding! The abomination Dolor's chain collided against the blade of light, and was instantly struck away. 3 different projections suddenly appeared on the abomination Dolor's body. He wanted to avoid the incoming blade. However, the blade was simply too quick. As light flashed, the abomination Dolor roared furiously. The three projections combined to form one, and a huge wound appeared on the abomination Dolor's shoulder. This was the result even after he used a defensive soul skill to take most of the offensive strength from the light blade. Otherwise, he would be in an even more tragic state. Tang Wu was forcefully resisting two evil titled Dolor. Not only did she not lose out, but she even suppressed her opponents. The Myriad soul Dolor had caught his breath by now. He was staring fiercely at Tang Wu. His sixth soul ring lit up, and he raised his Myriad soul banner up high. His black banner exuded a bluish rippling glow, causing it to appear deep blue. This deep blue was as deep as the color of the sea. Following this, 12 avenging spirits flew out from the banner. These avenging spirits were all deep blue. They appeared to be different from ordinary avenging spirits. These spirits actually possessed a form of their own. One of them was even a living creature with a human body and a fish tail. This avenging spirit had long hair that flowed all the way behind his head. Its entire body even exuded a blue glow. It was just that there was spirit fire dancing in its eyes. The other 11 avenging spirits also took different forms. The only similar characteristic between all of them was that they were aquatic creatures. They should be aquatic soul beasts. This evil soul master actually controls the avenging spirits formed from aquatic soul beasts. The avenging spirits of 12 aquatic soul beasts appeared. Apart from that mermaid avenging spirit, the other 11 avenging spirits flew towards Tang Wu. Each of them released a powerful aura. The mermaid avenging spirit lifted her head. She seemed to sigh. After that, a weird voice was heard from her mouth. Her voice was captivating, but she sounded like she was sobbing. She made one feel like crying. Tang Wu was stunned when she heard this voice. She was about to unleash her next soul skill, but she paused. It was also at this moment that the 11 avenging spirits encircled her. One of them, which looked like a shark, picked up speed, and charged in front of Tang Wu. It opened its huge mouth and was about to bite her. While these avenging spirits were only spiritual entities, they could inflict more harm than real entities. This was because they could directly harm souls. However, Tang Wu was Tang Wu. She was a 9-ring titled Dolor. She was even a titled Dolor with top-grade twin martial souls. Although the voice of the mermaid avenging spirit impacted her, she immediately regained her awareness. She mimicked a lifting action. In front of her, a huge hexagram array that was more than 5 meters in diameter suddenly surfaced. Following this, a huge beam of light shot into the sky. Ever since she got back with Huiyuhao, Tang Wu had separated some parts from her martial soul before fusing with them again later on. After her memory was fully restored, she was not only able to use every soul skill of her evolved martial souls, but she was also able to use the unevolved soul skills that Wang Donga had possessed. Right now, she was using the hexagram array. The beam of light unleashed from the gigantic hexagram array was filled with spiritual undulations and an aura of light. The moment the shark avenging spirit touched it, it let out a tragic scream and was glued to it. It couldn't escape even if it wanted to. Tang Wu forcefully stomped the ground with her left foot. Suddenly, the hexagram array shone brightly, and the light also intensified. The shark avenging spirit completely melted as a result. At this moment, the other 10 avenging spirits stalled. The reason why they were so strong was because they conserved some fighting capabilities, and even streaks of soul memories. This was why they could feel fearful too. Evidently, they knew that Tang Wu could completely curb them. Tang Wu didn't care about all that. As she stomped her foot, her 4th soul ring also lit up. A strange layer of bluish gold scales engulfed her body, turning into dazzling dragon armor. A huge golden dragon also started to revolve around her body. This was her 4th soul skill, Dragon God's Possession. Tang Wu figure flashed, and she charged towards the abomination Dolor. She punched her right fist into the air. Suddenly, a terrifying blast rang in the air. This time, all space within a few hundred square meters seemed to collapse. The abomination Dolor, who had just caught his breath, was delayed for a moment. After this, he saw a bright golden fist in front of him. Compared to the abomination Dolor, Tang Wu was simply too small. However, at this instant, the abomination Dolor felt a great sense of fear. It was as if this fist could crush the entire sky. When Tang Wu and Hui Yuhao were together, Hui Yuhao was generally the one who attacked. However, this didn't mean that she couldn't fight. On the contrary, Hui Yuhao might not even be able to beat Tang Wu in a duel. After Tang Wu's martial soul evolved, Hui Yuhao had the feeling that it was like a fusion of Wang Dong's radiant butterfly goddess and Wang Qiu's golden dragon. In terms of physical strength and power, it had completely inherited Wang Qiu's best abilities. This was why Tang Wu was extremely terrifying right now. As Tang Wu charged out, she disabled her connection to Hui Yuhao. However, even so, she was still a titled Dolor, and a powerful one at that. Boom! A tremendous boom echoed. The abomination Dolor used his fists to block her attack. He had already used all his strength and unleashed all his power. What he was most adept at was in fact his physical strength. However, the clash of fists caused him to be flung back. As for the tiny Tang Wu, she remained motionless in the air. It was also at this moment that a pitch-black door appeared behind Hui Yuhao. If not for the fact that he had finished reciting his incantations, Tang Wu wouldn't have left his side. A giant foot walked out from the pitch-black door. What appeared next was a massive creature. It was a giant, was even bigger than a Terror Knight. It was the undead Ice Bear King, Bai. Hui Yuhao didn't move, and stood where he was. His spiritual senses had already covered the entire place. The reason why he summoned Bai wasn't because he and Tang Wu couldn't deal with the two evil titled Dolor. Rather, he needed to control the entire scene. He was the chief commander of the entire army, and not just fighting on his own. He had to minimize the number of casualties. Therefore, he had to focus on other aspects too, rather than just his own fight. If this was before, fighting two evil titled Dolor would be potentially fatal. However, he didn't really regard them as a threat right now. Bai squeezed out from the door and immediately roared. He took a step forward. After this, he charged towards the abomination Dolor. Tang Wu drifted in mid-air. She was completely covered in dragon armor, and her wings were open behind her back. As a golden dragon revolved around her body, she was like a goddess of war. She raised her right hand, and a beam of golden light shone. It was the golden dragon spear that had belonged to Wang Qiu before. Every day, Hui Yuhao cultivated with Tang Wu. As he familiarized himself with her abilities, he passed the golden dragon spear to her. In her hands, it was indeed much stronger as she used it with her radiant dragon butterfly. The spear drew an arc in the air, and a golden halo spread outward. The 10 aquatic avenging spirits were forced back. At the same time, Tang Wu turned her attention to the Myriad Soul Dolor. Whether it was the Myriad Soul Dolor or the Abomination Dolor, they didn't expect their opponents to be so strong. Tang Wu's consecutive strikes left them very frustrated. Furthermore, they couldn't tell how strong she was. Was she a transcendent Dolor? Only a transcendent Dolor could possibly suppress them. Otherwise, she shouldn't be so strong even if she had a light-type martial soul. The Myriad Soul Dolor turned serious. He couldn't be bothered with what the Ice Bear King was. At this moment, Tang Wu had completely locked onto him, and a life-or-death fight was about to break out. The Myriad Soul Dolor's 7th soul ring shone, and he turned ethereal. After this, he swept his right hand down, and his banner fell to the ground. Following this, it expanded once again. As for the Myriad Soul Dolor, he turned into an intense ball of red light. A weird scene appeared. An image surfaced on the originally pitch-black banner. This image was blood red and seemed to be similar to the Myriad Soul Dolor's face. However, the image of him appeared to be much fiercer. Myriad Soul True Body. This was the Myriad Soul Dolor's 7th soul skill. He had actually turned into an avenging spirit, and become the main soul of his banner. A low-pitched groan sounded. As sinister winds blew, the entire soul formation turned dimmer. A cold and sinister aura filled the air as the screams of countless avenging spirits echoed. Domain-type soul skill. After the Myriad soul Doluo unleashed his martial soul true body, he actually unleashed a domain-type ability. No wonder he was an evil titled Doluo. Tang Wu revealed a cold look on her face. Domain-type skill? A domain created by his banner would likely strengthen all his avenging spirits. However, does he really think that's going to work? The image of the Myriad soul Doluo wasn't small. He had evidently realized that it wasn't enough for him to deal with Hui Yuhao and Tang Wu. He needed to deal with the others who had entered the soul formation too. This was why he used his strongest skill, Myriad Soul Domain. To use this domain-type skill, the requirements were very strict. First, he had to unleash his martial soul true body. In addition, it was also his 8th soul skill. The combination of two powerful soul skills enabled the Myriad Soul Doluo to unleash his greatest strength. Earlier, he was already very angry when Tang Wu killed one of his aquatic avenging spirits. Seeing that the undead Ice Bear King was out too, he knew that he no longer stood a chance if he didn't turn to his most powerful skill. Evil Soul Masters were most adept at fighting en masse. He had relied on his evil martial soul to turn the tables many times. Initially, when Hui Yuhao first faced Evil Soul Masters, a corpse explosion had caused many elite members of Shrek Academy to suffer greatly. This was how Hui Yuhao and Tang Wu had gained the opportunity to take part in the Continental Advanced Soul Master Academy Soul Dueling Tournament. It was a pity that they weren't like they were before. The Deep Blue Mermaid Avenging Spirit expanded to 3 times its original size. The banner was no longer visible, but this Mermaid Avenging Spirit was extremely obvious. Tang Wu flew back. If it were any ordinary person in this Myriad Soul domain, he wouldn't be able to see anything. However, as Hui Yuhao was around, did it really matter that she couldn't see anything? Tang Wu came to Hui Yuhao's side in a flash. After this, the temperature in the entire soul formation fell tremendously. Hui Yuhao was at the center of it. In the air, snowflakes started to fall. This was, in fact, the northernmost part of the northern area. Even though it was not as cold as the extreme north ice field, it was way colder than anywhere else. Also, the ice sea was just outside of Eastern Sun City. There was plenty of water in the ice sea, so there would not be any problem with the water element here. When Hui Yuhao first came here, he predicted that his power should increase by at least 20% here. When Tang Wu was shielding the blows for him, Hui Yuhao had already used his spiritual detection to scan the battlefield. He now had a complete picture of the battlefield, and had already established contact with Hikai too. Everything was under control. After confirming that no other accidents would happen, he naturally would not go light on the enemy as he unleashed his true fighting power. After returning to Hui Yuhao's side, Tang Wu opened up her butterfly wings and protected his back. This time around, Hui Yuhao was at the front and Tang Wu was like a little bird as she hugged his waist from the back. If Tang Wu-tong's seal were to act up now, it would truly be a tragedy. However, she had long thought of this. Because she was wearing the Dragon God armor, her body would not come into direct contact with Hui Yuhao. This meant that the seal would naturally not act up. Hui Yuhao's eyes turned an ice blue color as he faced the avenging spirits that were swarming towards him. Even though he was just standing there calmly, those spirits were unable to get near him and Tang Wu-tong. They were stuck outside of a 5-meter radius around the couple. As Hui Yuhao unleashed the snowy dance of ultimate ice, the entire area where the soul tools were installed started to experience a plunge in temperature. Because this area had activated their linked defense system, the cold air was trapped inside. Hence, the rate at which the temperature was dropping was faster than usual. The soul engineers who were trying to put up a struggle experienced a huge drop in their fighting power because of the extreme cold. Even though Ji Juechen and the others would also be affected by the cold, they were much stronger, and thus were not affected as much as the soul engineers. At this very instant, a loud cry could be heard. Following which, a pure white figure dashed out from the corner of the soul tool formation. Even though the avenging spirits were spirits, they were also similar to packets of energy, and were affected by the extremely low temperature. Their flying speed and fighting power were also heavily reduced. After this streak of white light emerged, the neighboring avenging spirits let out a deafening scream as they scrambled away from the white light in fear. As long as they came into contact with the white light, the avenging spirit would disintegrate. There was no chance for them to withstand the power of the white light. The Myriad soul domain no longer had any positive effects on them. As the pure white figure floated in midair, a pair of white wings opened up behind her back. The figure was wielding a white sword in her hands. She was none other than Yaya, the cultivator with the holy angel martial soul. After controlling the situation, the next thing Yaya wanted to do was maximize profits. He not only wanted to make sure he maximized the number of spoils he could take away from this area, but he also wanted his peers to maximize what they could take away for themselves. Beyond acquiring soul tools and resources here, the one who could stand to gain the most among the Tang sect was Yaya, the cultivator who was the natural enemy of evil soul masters. Because she possessed the holy angel martial soul, she was able to improve her cultivation from killing evil soul masters and destroying their abilities. The Myriad Soul Dolor's Myriad Soul banner contained so many avenging spirits. If Yaya were to cleanse and purify all of them, her cultivation would take a huge leap forward. This was why he did not immediately kill the two titled Dolor evil soul masters. He merely unleashed his domain and competed against them with it. He only wanted to trap the Myriad Soul Dolor to give Yaya a chance to kill him. The avenging spirits had no chance against Yaya as they disintegrated like the grass against a fire. All the avenging spirits were purified by her holy light. During the purification process, the pure energy released flowed into Yaya's body and continually improved her cultivation. This was her first time fighting against evil soul masters since joining the Tang sect. On top of that, the evil soul master she was facing was a titled Dolor. With her current ability, she would not have been able to subdue a titled Dolor even if she was his or her natural enemy. After all, as a soul sage, she was a lot weaker than a soul Dolor. However, with the help of Yaya, Tang Wu and Obai, the odds were actually in her favor. As she waved the holy sword in her hand, she was almost invincible. As she flickered across the sky, a large amount of avenging spirits were vanquished, and the leftover spirits scattered in fear. A deafening howl roared through the air. It was the Myriad Soul Dolor screaming in pain. How could he not be anguished by the death of the spirits he had painstakingly accumulated in his Myriad Soul banner? Not every dead person would produce an avenging spirit. Avenging spirits could only be formed from the death of a person or a beast with immense hatred. And the odds of that were 1 in 10. The Myriad Soul Dolor was only able to cultivate to his current level because of the blood and sweat he had shed to accumulate the avenging spirits in his Myriad Soul banner. He had been staying at Eastern Sun City to target aquatic soul beasts so as to acquire their avenging spirits. This was because the avenging spirits formed from the bodies of the aquatic soul beasts were a great fit for his martial soul. Because of how Yaya had rampaged around, the Myriad Soul Dolor had lost over 100 avenging spirits. The spirits were completely purified, and had no chance of reviving. As the number of avenging spirits in his banner decreased, his powers waned. Even though he had over 1,000 avenging spirits, he could not sustain this rate of losses for long. After shouting in pain, the Myriad Soul Dolor increased the power of his Myriad Soul banner. He steered his avenging spirits away from Yaya and towards the other people, leaving gusts of wind buffeting against her. However, Yaya was not fighting alone. While she might not be strong enough to fight the Myriad Soul Dolor alone, she had the help of Yaya and Tang Wu. Yaya leaned slightly backwards, and a powerful light was released from both his body and Tang Wu's. A large eye, the Eye of the Azura, appeared. A radiant dragon god's butterfly danced around the eye. Following which, countless tiny black hammers were projected at the speed of light in all directions. Mantra amidst the void, Spiritual Tempest. Spiritual Tempest was the combination of the spirit eyes and the clear sky hammer. It forged and strengthened Yaya's immensely powerful spiritual power before releasing it as a devastating blow. Martial Soul Fusion Skill. It was a skill which was powerful enough to go up against a technique from a transcendent Dolor. Back when they were facing more than 10 titled Dolor, Tang Wu and Yaya had managed to burst through their containment with this skill. the two evil soul masters would probably have no chance against it. The spiritual tempest avoided their own people in a delicate fashion, and attempted to expand its range to envelope their enemies. The Abomination Dolor, Myriad Soul Dolor and the avenging spirits released from the Myriad Soul banner were all enveloped within the spiritual tempest. This was truly a full power attack released by both Hui Yuhao and Tang Wu. Instantly, the avenging spirits that were flying clear of Yi Gai found themselves frozen in mid-air. Their spiritual fire was solidified and frozen under the effects of spiritual tempest. Normally, the tempest would have destroyed a large number of the avenging spirits. However, Hui Yuhao was able to use his exceptional control to control the power of the tempest to create an advantage for Yi Gai. The Myriad Soul Dolor and Abomination Dolor both let out a groan. The Myriad Soul domain was also destroyed at that instant. Even if the two of them were to go up against Tang Wu one-on-one, they would still find it hard to beat her. Furthermore, they were actually going up against a skill released by both Hui Yuhao and Tang Wu. Hence, it took only a short while before the outcome of the battle was decided. The biggest winner was naturally Yi Gai. As she spread out the wings behind her back, she flickered across the sky like a bolt of lightning. Large numbers of avenging spirits were purified wherever her holy sword landed. As the winds of spiritual tempest blew through the area, Yi Gai cleaned up after them. The avenging spirits that were hit by spiritual tempest and the snowy dance of ultimate ice could not dodge or defend themselves against Yi Gai. They could only wait for their vengeance to be purified. The Myriad Soul domain might be extremely powerful in the eyes of an average soul master. It could not only release tens of thousands of avenging spirits, but also enhance their power exponentially. However, as strong as this skill might be, it would only work in Yi Gai's favor. Hui Yuhao could sense with his spiritual detection that Yi Gai's cultivation was shooting up at an insane rate. This could only be a result of the strength of the opponent she was facing. She was going up against a titled Dolor Evil Soul Master. In addition, he was the kind of soul master who accumulated avenging spirits. He was the perfect target for her to improve her cultivation. Over the past few years, Yi Gai had never used such a method to improve her cultivation. Her foundation had always been solid and stable. Hence, this was a golden opportunity for her to consume the power of a titled Dolor. It was impossible for her abilities to not improve. As her cultivation improved, the holy light she was emanating became stronger. After being caught in the spiritual tempest, the Myriad Soul Dolor took 7 to 8 seconds before he regained his composure from his shock. But when he finally became calm again, he realized he had already come out of his martial soul true body. His Myriad Soul banner's color had become a lot fainter, and only the most powerful avenging spirits were left around him. As for the Abomination Dolor, he was already pinned down by a bai. His back had been crushed, and a thick layer of dense ice had formed on his body. How could he stand a chance against a bai after suffering from the spiritual tempest? This was like fighting a battle against a combination of a transcendent Dolor who specialized in spiritual control and a transcendent Dolor who specialized in assault. Even an evil soul master could not withstand such blows. This video will end here.